Hi there, welcome to Speaking to Students. I'm Johnny Jenkins, and this is the series where each time we meet a remarkable student doing something extra, something different alongside their degree. My guest today is James Briggs, who is a Master's Broadcast Journalism student at City University, but did an undergraduate degree in cyber and computer security. Would you believe it? James, it's so great to see you today. That's quite a peculiar undergrad to do. Cyber and computer security. Talk me through that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very much something that is still developing because I was the first cohort to go into the university doing it. It was the University of Gloucestershire. So it was all brand new, and literally as we were going up the years, they were writing the course around us, which is an amazing feeling to have, an amazing position to be in. I mean, I've got to be honest, I went into it thinking it was like Q from James Bond, which it kind of was. But maybe not so many gadgets and not meeting James Bond, which was a shame. But it was really good because obviously with things like the US elections, with things even like Elon Musk now with all the technology he's developing, technology is everywhere. So it's really, really exciting to be part of such a growing area, really, growing trend of industry.
And now you're doing the Masters in Broadcast Journalism. Is cyber still what you're focusing on now, or I suppose it gave you quite a good grounding for this?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm really passionate about technology and especially as well helping people who might not be so technologically able. People like the elderly and things. It's really great, and I'm hoping that by doing this journalism masters, I can tie the two together and really sort of take complex, technical things, whether that be voter fraud, the allegations of that, or even things like understanding the latest iPhone, how that technology works, and taking that and then changing it through the sort of broadcast journalism aspect of things to a way that people are going to understand. So I guess you could kind of compare it really to like the Gadget Show, that sort of thing.
That's brilliant, and I love the Gadget Show. Your masters you're doing now, is that all online, or are you able to get some in-person teaching?
So it's actually it was a good mix. I mean, obviously when we're sort of filming this, it's up in the air. We've been told that we've got at least a month where we're going to be online, but pre-Christmas really, we were really lucky because we were going in for at least, one sort of 2 days a week for our news days, which is really important because then we're physically in the studios. We've got some fabulous facilities at City University, and so we got to go out filming, meeting people, finding the best stories, and along with that really it was great to sort of try our hand at all the different roles within the TV newsroom as well. But obviously at the moment it's up in the air, so it's quite difficult to know what's going to happen.
James, as always on this series, I'm really interested in the extra stuff that you do alongside the degree, and you do a podcast with your brother, don't you, all about cyber?
Well, yeah, so this sort of came about, I think midsummer we started planning it really, and I'd always wanted to do a podcast. I'd never done it before, and we sort of thought, let's just bite the bullet. So it really does sort of build on what I spoke about earlier, what I'd like to do, and we take, it's called Cyber Bros, so we take different sort of computer and cyber elements, and then we sort of make it fun and enjoyable for people to understand and follow. So, I mean, our first episode was just chatting about the history of computers, which, is something that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. So it was quite good to do that. And then the second episode we did as well was then talking about Bletchley Park and Alan Turing, which is, a really big part of our history as well as, computers history. And it did an awful lot of work for the development of both computers. It changed security, and also, made a massive difference in World War II as well.
You saying there, a series about the history of computers. Some people might think, oh, it's a bit too cybery, a bit too sciencey for me, I'm going to switch off. How do you go about making it accessible?
Well, I think what works for me when I'm listening to podcasts or watching something, whether it be a documentary or even like a Netflix special or something, it's all about making it conversational and not sort of putting on too much pressure for people to learn something new. I mean, that's one thing that I really love to do is I'll take, something like let's say we've got an article online and it's talking about something like quantum computing, which is so complex, it's really difficult. I love taking that and then making it something that's understandable and just literally talking through it with my brother. So my brother is 6 years younger. He might not necessarily know the things that I know. So it's great for him then to be able to be almost like the viewer in a way, or the listener, and say, so what does that actually mean? Why is this important? And that makes a big difference in making it easier for me to judge what people will know, what level they'll be at, and how to make it accessible and interesting too, which is the main aim of the podcast, really.
Do you know when you first got interested in cyber? Is it something that you remember quite vividly, or did it just build up over time?
It was actually really, really random, because I went to the University of Gloucestershire on open day, and I was actually there, I think, looking at law. It was a mixture of law and TV, so that in itself was a real sort of random mix. But while I was there, we had some time to kill, and I think it was my mum actually said to me, "Oh, this cyber sounds really interesting, let's go to the talk." So we went along to the talk. I fell in love with it. I mean, I was doing A-level IT at the time, so I had some sort of background in IT, but I loved it. Went home, changed my application completely on UCAS, and then a few weeks later I was there. So it was really one of those things that just sort of happens, but happens for the best ultimately. So it was really exciting.
You're the second person on this series to say to me that you went to an open day and you had a bit of time and you went to another subject and you ended up falling in love with that. So that just goes to show how important it is to go to open days if you're a prospective student. Now, when you were 18, this is so cool, you're a CSI officer, investigator, whatever, crime scene investigation. It's so out there. How did that come about?
So again, really random. I mean, I think I've just had a few lucky moments here and there, and my mum used to get the train to work with somebody who worked at my local sort of police headquarters, and they were chatting, saying about I'd been doing this cyber course at university, and then little did I know, I had a phone call then a few weeks later from the sort of police force saying, would I like to come in and do a little bit of work placement with them, totally sort of off the cuff. I didn't expect it at all, and then I managed to get about 2.5 months or so literally going out with the CSI officers. I got to go to real crime scenes. I helped gather evidence. I mean, it was really exciting, from things like looking at people's footprints, when they've broken into a building, taking fingerprints from the most random things. And it was really exciting as well, just to go around the different areas of the police force as well. I mean, one thing actually that was really interesting, and a real insight really, was looking at how much things cost as well in the police, because obviously we only see the one side of it, but I literally got to see a sort of price list, if you like, of how much each thing, fingerprints, looking into how much time it takes for a police officer to investigate something, and all this worked out in sort of like a price list was just insane, because you don't realise how much things cost as well. It's amazing.
And all that stuff you learn, I mean, you may not necessarily go into the police force or go into that sort of field, but it will help you in your degree and just give you sort of a rounded view of everything that's going on.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think it really helped, because when I went back then into my degree, it was a massive help, because I had this practical experience that really gave me a foot up really from everybody else, because I kind of knew how the industry worked to a certain degree. And I think it's also helped largely with what I'm doing now, because we were going out and you're meeting with all sorts of people, and journalism, obviously, you need to be confident speaking to people. You need to know what to look for, how to speak to people as well. And I mean, there's one case always stuck with me from when I did the placement, and it was visiting an old lady who she was the victim of a distraction burglary. So basically, someone had put down like a card on the desk, and then at the same time they picked up her bank card, walked out, and then spent about £1,000 in Tesco's down the road. And I think seeing things like that really resonates with you, and so it's quite easy then to remember that going forward and think, well, some things like this happens. It's not good. But I think you just become more aware of what the world can be like, which I think is quite a good thing.
And I suppose seeing the human side of crime helps you when you're seeing the human side of journalism, because ultimately, that's what journalism's all about. Is that then what you're going to do when you finish your masters? Are you going to become a broadcast journalist? Is it specialising in cyber? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think so. I really feel passionate about cyber and about as well helping people as best as you can. So taking things like helping older people with online safety. I mean, my grandfather's 89. He has no internet in his house. He has no smartphone, nothing. But he does get, things like a lot of cold callers and things like that, pretending to be his bank and things like that. And I think having the ability to have a platform such as you get with doing broadcast journalism, and then using that to help people, real consumers with their real questions, things like if we look back at the Gadget Show, that sort of thing, but using that sort of idea really to take basic things that some people, younger people may know already from school, but older people might not. And I think it's really, really important to help to educate people and to just be somebody there on their side as well, because I think as a society, we're moving very fast with technology, and yet there are some people who might not be going as fast. So I think it's really important to sort of make sure everyone can get to the same level and feel that they're being helped as well. I think that's a really good thing that could come out of doing broadcast journalism.
Well, James, you do so much alongside your degree. What would you say to a student who perhaps is about to start university or is already there and isn't sure if they've got time, if they'd be able to do extra stuff? Would you just encourage them to get stuck in?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really good thing to try and make time, really, because I in my university undergrad, I was doing so much. I mean, I was course rep, subject rep. I was doing a radio show on the student radio. I was having to do so many different assignments, and also, for a while I did like a YouTube channel, things like that. But I found that I really enjoyed doing this. So to me, it wasn't any more time than I was already spending because I enjoyed it all. I just loved. Well, I love being busy anyway. I'm a sort of workaholic in a way because I hate to sort of just sit there. But it was never a chore, if you know what I mean. So I really enjoyed having that ability to further myself and try new things as well. And I think if you're going to university, you'll sort of find in a way things just fall into place as well. So you might think, oh, I'm not going to have time to do this. But then you'll find, oh, actually, it's quite nice while I'm watching TV in the evening, or while I'm waiting for my pasta to cook, which is the usual student diet. It's quite nice just to sit there and then plod on with something a bit different, and something especially as well. I think it's important, different to your course, because I think that is a good release then. Otherwise, if you're doing all sort of coursework, it's probably not the most helpful thing.
Exactly. Well, thanks so much for coming on, James Briggs. You certainly are a remarkable student. If you like what you see, remember to like and subscribe.